Hey everyone, and welcome. We're about to go on a visual tour of one of the most powerful programming languages ever, C. And our roadmap for this whole thing? It's this awesome guide, C Notes for Professionals. We're going to cover the basics like Hello World, then jump into data types, tackle C's superpower, memory management, and even look at some of the classic mistakes everyone makes. So yeah, let's just dive right in.
So you might not even realize it, but C is, well, it's pretty much everywhere. It's like the invisible foundation of our entire digital world. The operating system on your computer, your phone, the web servers that are streaming this to you right now, even the software in your car. Yep, chances are C is under the hood, running the show. It really is the language that built the modern world. And C has been around for a long time. I mean, it all started back at Bell Labs in '72. Then it became legendary with the famous K&R book in '78. It's the language that gave birth to C++. And get this? The entire Linux kernel was written in C. And even today, all these years later, its raw speed and control make it the go-to language for anything where performance is just non-negotiable.
All right, so how do you start a journey with a language this iconic? Well, you do it the same way every single programmer has before you, with a simple, friendly greeting. And here it is, the classic hello world. It's like a rite of passage, you know? But it's perfect because it shows you the basic anatomy of a C program. First, you include a standard library. That's for your input and output stuff. Then you've got your main function, which is where everything really kicks off. We use a function called puts to print our message, and then return 0. That's just our way of telling the operating system, hey, we're done and everything went great. Simple, right? But also really clean and powerful. Okay, so we've set our hellos. Now it's time to get our hands on our first tools. And in C, that means getting to know the basic building blocks, the raw materials you're going to use for everything, the fundamental data types. So these are your absolute essentials. You got int for your whole numbers, like 1, 10, 100. Then there's float and double for numbers with decimal points, just with different levels of precision. And finally, char for just a single character. Seriously, you can think of these as the primary colors. Everything you build, every digital masterpiece is going to be made from these. But what happens when you need to group a bunch of different data types together? Like, imagine you're making a game and you have a player. They have health, which is an integer, and maybe a score, also an integer. How do you keep all that stuff organized? Well, that's exactly what a struct is for. It lets you create your own custom data type, like a blueprint, to package all that related info together. And this is where it really clicks. That struct code we just saw, it's not just text. It's literally a blueprint for this, a real organized block of memory. See how it works? We've got the main box, our player, and inside it's got these nice labeled compartments for health and score. It's just a super clean way to keep your data from becoming a total mess. And this is exactly why structs are so important. They're not just some beginner-level thing. No way. They're the absolute backbone of how huge, complex software is built. Game engines, they use structs for everything. Characters, items, you name it. Databases use them for records. Seriously, getting comfortable with structs is a massive step towards writing professional-level code.
Okay, let's keep going with this idea of memory, because now we're getting to C's real superpower, direct memory management. Now, I know what you're thinking, pointers. A lot of people find them intimidating, but we're going to look at them for what they really are, the thing that gives C its incredible speed and its legendary control.
All right, let's actually see how this works. When you write a line of code like int num equals 42, here's what happens inside the computer. It just carves out a little box in its memory, slaps the label num on it, and puts the number 42 inside. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, now for the cool part. We create something called a pointer. Now, a pointer is just another variable, but with a twist. Instead of holding a value like 42, it holds a memory address. Think of it like a signpost that points to where our other variable lives. That ampersand symbol there, the and num part, that just means give me the address of num. So what we're doing here is creating a pointer called p, and its only job is to remember the exact location of our num box. And here's why that's so powerful. Once your pointer knows where that box is, you can use it to directly change what's inside. That little star, the asterisk, in front of the p, that means don't talk to the pointer. Go to the address it's pointing at. So when we say star p equals 99, we're following that arrow and changing the value inside the num box to 99. We just changed num without even using its name. That is what we mean by control. So why does any of this matter? Why go through the trouble? because this kind of low-level control is absolutely essential for anything that needs to be fast and efficient. We're talking operating systems, embedded systems in your car or your smart fridge, robotics, device drivers, basically anything that needs to talk directly to the hardware and squeeze out every last ounce of performance. It all runs on pointers.
And that control also lets you choose where you store your data. In C, you've got two main playgrounds, the stack and the heap. The stack is super fast and automatic. It's for all your local variables, and the computer manages it for you. It's organized, it's quick, but it's small. The heap, on the other hand, is a big open space. You can request as much memory as you need for as long as you need it. But there's a catch. You have to manage it yourself. You have to ask for it with malloc, and you absolutely have to remember to give it back with free. More power, but way more responsibility.
And you know what they say, with great power comes, well, a lot of ways to shoot yourself in the foot. The C Guide has this great section on common traps and pitfalls. And you shouldn't think of these as failures. Think of them more like classic boss battles that every C developer has to face.
Okay, here's one that gets everybody at least once. It's a rite of passage. Mixing up a single equals sign with a double equals sign. A single equals assigns a value. A double equals compares values. So if you write if x equals 5, you're not checking if x is 5. You're making x become 5. And because 5 is not 0, the if statement is always true. Ugh, a single tiny character completely breaks your logic.
Hey, remember that heap memory we talked about? The stuff you have to manage yourself? Well, here's the danger. You use malloc to ask the system for a chunk of memory. Great. You use it, and then you forget to call free to give it back. That memory is now orphaned. It's lost. Your program can't use it anymore, but it's still technically checked out. That's a memory leak. And it's like a slow poison for your application. It just eats up resources until eventually, boom, crash.
And then there's this classic, the array out of bounds error. Look, in C, arrays start counting from 0. So if you have an array with 3 spots, they are index 0, index 1, and index 2. So what happens if you try to write to index 3? You're not just wrong, you're wandering off into a part of memory you're not supposed to touch. C won't stop you. You could be scribbling over other important data, you could crash your program, or worse, you could be opening up a massive security vulnerability. This is the definition of undefined behavior, and it is bad news.
But once you've learned the basics and you know how to navigate those common traps, a whole new level of C programming opens up. The guide gives us a fantastic peek at the mastery that's waiting for you down the road.
I mean, we're talking about some seriously cool stuff. You'll get into multi-threading so your programs can do multiple things at the same time. You'll see inline assembly, where you're literally writing commands that talk directly to the CPU. You'll learn how to use professional testing frameworks and how to hunt down the most devious bugs with tools like Valgrind. This is the stuff that turns you into a pro.
Look, what we've done here today is just a super quick flyby. We have barely, and I mean barely, scratched the surface. The full guide has over 300 pages packed with this kind of expert practical knowledge. It's an absolutely incredible resource if you really want to continue the journey. So I want to leave you with this one thought. C isn't just another programming language. It's different. It hands you the keys to the machine. It gives you raw, direct control. It puts all the power, and yeah, all the responsibility, right in your hands. So the only real question left to ask is, what are you going to build with it?